On his way back from Beijing, Emmanuel Macron was interviewed by Politico, and he made this statement. I'm quoting here, Europe must reduce its dependency on the United States. The great risk Europe faces is that it gets caught up in crises that are not ours. And this prevents it from building its strategic autonomy.
Is the European Union on the verge of splitting? Is Europe slowly becoming divided over the Ukraine war? Are fissures beginning to emerge within the NATO? I am not the one asking these questions. Europe's own people, its own think tanks and news networks are. Europeans are divided on the war, divided on how long it can go on for, and how long it can isolate Russia for. So there are two unofficial but clear blocks, the new guard and the old guard. The new guard sees security as against Russia. The old guard still sees security as with Russia. France is doing business with Russia. Germany is doing business with Russia. Spain is doing business with Russia. Belgium is doing business with Russia. And Italy too is uncertain about how long the sanctions can persist for. These are 5 of Europe's biggest economies that I'm talking about. And if they cannot seem to end their reliance on Moscow, how will the rest of Europe? So my point is simple. Europe's biggest and strongest countries are placing their individual agendas above the larger agenda of the European Union. So for how long will this fragile unity hold? For how long can Europeans keep supporting Ukraine? For how long can they keep antagonizing Moscow? If we go by the actions of Europe's leading economies, the answer for all 3 questions seems to be not for long.
Saturday night saw Iranian proxy groups in Syria fire as many as 6 rockets towards Israel. Israeli army then announced that it has carried out artillery strikes in retaliation in areas in Syria from where the rockets were fired. According to Israeli Defense Forces, in the first attack, 3 rockets were fired from Syria, of which 1 crossed the border and landed in an open area near the northern Israeli town of Metzar. Now, according to Jordan's military, fragments of another destroyed missile fell into Jordanian territory near the Syrian border. Hours later, in the second barrage, 2 of the rockets crossed the border into Israel, with 1 being intercepted and the second landing in an open area. There are no reports of casualties. These strikes come amid soaring tensions in the region. Cross-border strikes also took place in Gaza and Lebanon following Israeli police raids in Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque earlier this week. Meanwhile, the US has sent an attack submarine as a deterrent against Iran and to maintain the stability of one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. The move came a day after the US Fifth Fleet and its partners released a warning advising all ships to proceed with caution following the escalating tensions between Iran and Israel. Now, a trove of documents detailing US and NATO's military support to Ukraine has been splashed across social media. The documents reveal the depth of America's spying apparatus around the world, detailing how the US continues to infiltrate allied nations amid the heightening global tensions. The documents expose the range of details which the US possessed, while also exposing America on how it spies on its friends and foes alike. The leaked documents appear to have come at least in part from the Pentagon and are marked as highly classified. The leak has complicated relations with allied countries, raising doubts about America's ability to keep its secrets. The documents could also hurt diplomatic ties in other ways. Now, according to reports, it's not Russia on whom the US is spying on. The intelligence breach also unearthed probes in a variety of nations, including South Korea, Iran, and the UK. South Korea, Israel, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom are among allies the US is said to be keeping tabs on.
A show of force and fury. For the 3rd and final day, China's military continued what it called Operation Joint Sword, aerial and naval blockade drills to seal off the island, and practicing precision strikes on Taiwanese targets. The Chinese army showed this short video of simulated attacks on Taiwan, with missiles fired from land, sea, and air into the island's territory. It also confirmed that its aircraft carrier, the Shandong, has taken part in Monday's exercises. Chinese officials said fighter planes loaded with live ammunition had carried out multiple waves of simulated strikes on important targets. These drills were expected. China is infuriated by the Taiwanese president's visit to the U.S. This is Beijing's promised robust response to what it says was a serious act of collusion. China sees the self-ruled island as part of its territory and insists it should be unified with the mainland, by force if necessary. As China displayed a wide array of weapons, the U.S. Navy said its guided missile destroyer Milius performed what Washington called a freedom of navigation operation in the South China Sea, large parts of which are claimed by Beijing. The Chinese government said the U.S. illegally intruded in its waters. China said that its military drills around Taiwan have ended successfully, but there is no end in sight for the tensions between Beijing and Washington and an increasingly unstable Indo-Pacific.